Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. We're just loading the attendees up as we speak, and then we'll get going. Okay, we've got visitors slowly arriving. Numbers are increasing.
You can start your presentation open.
Okay, it's a cold winter's morning outside. They're promising that slowly weather conditions will worsen. This is time to start making your plans for the year. I've got a message from Ray that's popping up saying, I look forward to this with a big smiley face. Thanks very much, Ray. Any other questions, comments? Welcome as we go through this. So, thank you all very much for joining us today. This is going to be a webinar about international trade, importing and exporting. I'm going to do a small advert at the beginning on behalf of the Chamber. So, our Chamber of Commerce is 114 years old. Sorry, did somebody say something?
You've got it in the editing view. You need to hit start presentation, start slideshow.
Right, there we go.
There you go.
So, our Chamber of Commerce meets locally for local people, where we welcome lots of people from overseas via Heathrow. And we have a joint venture operating with West London business called the West London Export Club, which we welcome them with. We help SMEs engage with Heathrow Airport area and other PLCs around West London. You can see the demographics around around Heathrow, around Hounslow, around Ealing, around Hammersmith and Fulham. And in total, our economy in West London is worth around £40 billion. Our membership has risen from 350 5 years ago to 1,800. We look forward to welcoming more new members. We are part of, and I'm deputy chair of, London's local chambers that's got a membership of over 5,000 businesses, all in London, which we can link you with locally. And we're also part of London Chamber of Commerce, who've got over 7,000, mainly SME members. We're a board of local businesses who meet regularly. We listen and understand what issues are locally for business, and we do our best to help. Our USP is we're an award-winning chamber with an award from the Department for Business and Trade for providing the best service for export in the whole of the UK, which is quite an achievement. Who am I? I've been the CEO for the last 5 years. I'm a Queen's Award-winning export professional. I'm a member of the British Exporters Association, a council member. I've export experience in the EU, Middle East, Asia, Russia, US, South America, and I lead at the West London Export Club. I also have a business in the United States. So I don't just talk the talk, I do walk the walk. And I'm an ex-DIT, DBT Trade Officer. So where is the UK in Europe in terms of size of our economy? We are the second biggest economy, just behind Germany. Considering the size of the population of the UK, we are quite good. At number 2, other countries with a similar population like France, Italy, or with a massive population like Russia, are behind us. It's something we should be proud of. And what do we do with that economy in Europe? Well, we export our goods and services around the world. In fact, we are the 4th biggest exporter on the planet, behind China with a population of 1.4 billion, behind the United States with a population around 400 million, behind Germany. So in terms of size of population, we rank really highly, and we're ahead of Japan. Please remember that number, 800 billion. That was in 2021. I'll update that number at the end of this presentation. So how does trade benefit, international trade benefit the UK economy? The Department for Business and Trade tell us that exports contribute around 60% of GDP growth. 1 in 4 jobs are linked to international trade and makes business more competitive and productive and more resilient. Some interesting scenarios. Oh, here's that number again. On my last slide in 2021, we were $800 billion. This year, our exports are now at a record level of £882 billion. Multiply that by 1.25 and you get the US dollar equivalent, which is going to be more than $1 trillion. Sadly, the UK slipped to the 5th largest exporter now, but we're the 2nd largest exporter of services and the 3rd largest recipient of foreign direct investment and the largest in Europe. Number 1 and number 2 of FDI investment is the United States and China. So whether you're an importer or an exporter, this webinar is for you. A couple of the other key facts is 97% of the world's GDP is outside the UK. So if you do well and you sell well in the UK market, you should think about how well you could do selling outside the UK as well. There's much more of the world outside. It can improve your financial performance. What some companies do, as a point of interest, is they sell summer goods in the UK in the summer, and then a country that's very similar to the UK, or countries, are New Zealand and Australia. And they then send their summer range of products down under and sell them through the UK winter in an Australian and New Zealand summer. So it extends the life of the product that they sell. You can achieve levels of growth in economies and scales not possible found domestically. If you sell traditionally in the UK market and your business turnover in the UK is, let's say, 100,000 a year, don't be too surprised if you receive an order for export to Germany or the United States for 100,000 or more. It's on its own. The problem is you have to work out how you can afford to buy all your raw materials for that, and I can help. It also helps you spread the risk of your business. As old product lines start to decline in the UK, you can export them overseas to newer developing markets and find that they've got a whole new product life in them. It helps increase your return on research and development and the commercial lifespan of your product. So whether you're importing or exporting, this is what we need to ask you. Lisa, have you got a couple of questions that you'd like to pop up to do a small poll? So as we go through this webinar, I'm going to ask some questions to judge what type of audience we have. So can you please let me know if you have ever exported before, yes or no? And secondly, have you traveled to an overseas market before to try and grow your business? I'll give you a few moments. So I'll have a quick look in the chat box here, and I can see some people are saying that after the webinar, will there any certificates be provided? And what a great idea. Sally has put in, this is not part of an accredited career development program, so certificates will not be issued. Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Sally. Right, I'll leave those chat boxes to continue. So please do let us know what your situation is as an exporter. I'd be delighted to hear. Thank you. So let's carry on with where we were going. So whether you're importing or exporting in the UK, for your own domestic UK sales, you will have a VAT number. What you will need to apply to the VAT office for is an EORI number. That stands for Economic Operators Registration and Identification Number. Every business needs one. And in short, what it is a VAT number for the UK, which says GB at the front of it, and then lots of zeros. This will be recognised by customs when they do any procedures for importing or exporting your products. In short, as well, if you sell your equipment or your services to a country overseas, you do not charge VAT. VAT is a tax in the UK only. But when you import your goods into the UK, you need to register that those goods are coming in and will be sold in the UK, so they will be registered with the VAT office. So next point is, where does London sit in terms of the world's wealthiest cities? You'll be pleased to know that behind New York City, Tokyo, and San Francisco, London is the fourth wealthiest city on the planet, which is quite a status to be at. And San Francisco, of course, is there because of all of the tech companies. But New York and Tokyo are the world's major financial centres, as is London now, with Singapore and Hong Kong, with Beijing and Shanghai following behind. So, whether you import services or export them, this is now where I'm going to come down to some key issues. So, if you're importing services or goods into the UK, it's good to be connected with an investor into the UK market. FDI stands for Foreign Direct Investment. As you saw above, the UK is the third largest country in the world for foreign direct investment. There are lots of companies and wealthy individuals who visit the UK via Heathrow who are looking to invest and open up a business in the UK. As a local West London company, you can offer those companies help with finding an office, with employing staff, with HR advice in the UK, with giving them accountancy services, with giving them tax advice, with giving them local connections in the marketplace so that they can grow their business. These are all services that we can provide. As a foreign company coming to the UK, or as a local company in the UK, you can potentially use back office support from overseas. Some of our members use back office support services from Sweden, or from India, or from the United States, or from China. And what's more, there are lots of opportunities to import and distribute goods or food. On a note of food, a lot of products come into Heathrow, agricultural products, vegetables, fruit, because of their short shelf life, and they go to Western International Market, which is part of Hounslow, and are distributed from there all around the UK. So, customs duty is another big issue. Goods that come into the UK have to pay import duty. We've seen in the news regularly about free trade agreements that we're signing with countries all around the world. The agreement we have with the EU largely means UK goods can be exported to Europe for with no import duty. But there are customs paperwork to fill out to show that the goods themselves are UK origin. We also have separately free trade agreements with a whole host of countries from South America to Canada to New Zealand, Australia, to places like Vietnam, and some of the biggest agreements are yet to be signed fully. We are hoping for some news on an Indian free trade agreement shortly. Our Prime Minister was due to travel over there at the end of last month, but that visit got delayed because of what's going on in Israel. But that agreement will trigger a huge amount of trade to be released in the UK. And if you buy goods from overseas and you bring them into the UK, you'll be liable to pay import duty. Now, if you then re-export those goods outside the UK, you can claim something called inward processing relief, or IPR, which means that the import duty and VAT can be reclaimed back. You might import the goods for repackaging to be sold with your own brand on. You might incorporate them with other goods to be exported that are made in the UK. But you just need to make sure that you re-export them within 6 months, and that will then save you from paying any duty or VAT. Now, if you're bringing goods in for domestic use inside the UK, you need to understand if your goods conform with British licensing regulation, which is UK credit accreditation, or Conform Européenne, or British Standards Institute. You need to find out what the tariff number is for the goods that you're bringing in. The tariff number is a customs nomenclature number that every country in the world uses to identify what exact description your goods are with a number. That number then translates into a percentage of import duty dependent on the country those goods come from. That then needs to be paid to HMRC. To bring your goods in via somewhere like Heathrow Airport, you need to appoint what's called a clearing agent who will act on your behalf to bring those goods in, and they will then fill out all of the paperwork for importing or IPR processing and for any VAT that needs to be invoiced to you from HMRC. And we need to help you link in with those clearing agents. We have many who are members of our chamber. Just let us know. We have lots of UK customers who are chamber members, not just in our area, but we are linked to chambers of commerce across the whole of the UK. And we can help you link up with major companies who might want to buy goods that you import. And we can help link you into distribution networks, such as if you are importing fruit or veg that can come in, we can help get that distributed across the whole of the UK via Western International Market. Just be in touch with us. So, whether you're exporting now, let's flip this over a little bit. The first thing you need to do is to create an export plan. We can help from our chamber in getting you to do that. We can help you understand which market you want to export overseas to. That will work out where your goods are going to go to. You'll identify that key market. We'll work out what legislation your goods need to conform to in that market overseas. And we'll help you build a plan how to enter that market, how to develop an export strategy for growth in that market, how you can do business with larger companies in that market who will have their own requirements. And then we'll help you work on some financial tools to do that. And then we'll help you can grow your sales and exports. So how do we grow an export plan? You need to take time to consider all of the options. There's a lot of countries out there. Some countries all speak the same language as you. Some of them speak the same language, but in a different way. Go to Ireland, go to the United States, go to Australia or New Zealand. They all speak English, but it's very different. Are UK market opportunities achieved, and are they secure? What type of risk do you have in those countries? You can have a political risk by doing business in a frontier market, or you can have a IP risk if you're doing business in there. For example, what type of financial resources are available that you have, and what do you need outside if you get a big order? How are you going to finance that? And how credible is your offering to an overseas exporter? I remember hearing a story by a former British government trade minister, Sir Richard Needham, who told me that he took a trade mission overseas to Romania one year, and one UK company was selling straw dolls made in the West Country. They were fantastic, and they had them on a stand in Romania, and next door was the Romanian pavilion, and there was another company there selling straw dolls that were double the size and half the price. And the UK company thought, oh my God, what have we done? We've come here trying to sell our dolls, and yet we're being undercut with a product that's double the size. And how can we compete? Then they realized that there was some issues with the straw dolls from Romania. They weren't fire protected, and a lot of the large shops in Romania wanted that fire retardant, a chemical applied to the straw. So the only people that could actually sell to them was the UK company, and their business worked. But it's all about understanding what the local market needs and how you can be credible and offer that to an overseas buyer, and what the points of difference are between your product and your competitors. It might be twice the size and half the price, but what's the differences? What's the small points that make a big difference? And more importantly, what type of commitment do you have from your team to want to grow and expand your business? A really good tool that a lot of people use is SWOT, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. I prefer to use a SMART test. It's a specific, measurable indicator working with time. It gives you a timeline to overcome things. So, why have I got an aeroplane on the tarmac? At this point, this should be your business. Once you've gone through all these points, you should be ready for takeoff and thinking about an overseas market you could like to go to. So I'm going to have a quick look in the chat box and see what else has been going on a second. And I'm being reminded by Lisa, don't forget about any polls. Lisa, would you like to put up the next poll for us? Right, okay, so this is quite an important poll. Can everybody please answer this? Has this event provided you with the information you need to start looking to access a new market? I'm going to start going into more information after this, but this is the key thing to say yes, no, or would like to have more information. So can you please give that a quick tick? And that would be really good to have some feedback on this. So I can see another question about what type of software can be exported into the UK, and what is the scope. So software is an interesting scenario. You can export any software over here so long as it fits within a legal framework that affects anything like fraud, etc. But if your software is, for example, accountancy type software or sales promotion type software, then that's okay to use. So moving on, I can see Kathy Oliver's in our group today. Morning, Kathy. Nice to see you're in touch. Thank you. Brand British is a bigger brand than you realise when you travel overseas, especially to markets like the United States, who have got a strong affinity to things British. Make sure that your product is patent protected in the markets that you travel overseas with. The last thing you want to do is to take your software overseas, find that somebody else quite likes it, copies it, and then start selling it in competition to you. What type of legal recourse do you have overseas and in the UK? At the moment in the UK, and quite likely in lots of other countries overseas, after COVID, there is a 2-year wait to go to court. So we advocate mediation and arbitration services and have an excellent set of companies in our chamber who can help get you through that with a very low cost and a very high rate of reconciliation to a commercial dispute. Please be in touch and we can mediate as a Chamber of Commerce to help. Also, you could put on international contracts that if you have any need for mediation and arbitration, that you use your local Chamber of Commerce for that, which we'll be pleased to do. Finally, be aware of cultural issues, especially in things like price negotiation. In places like China, Japan, Africa, especially in places like Africa, Asia, and China, price negotiation is a big issue. People will want big discounts. My advice is charge them a higher price first, and then you're able to give a discount. In countries like Japan, and the United States, they won't so much want a price discount in a big number. They will be smart and want a good question of price, but they will want to understand more culturally the issues. And brand British is a high selling point on that front. In Japan, if somebody gives you a business card, hold it with both hands. Take time to study it. Bow at the same level that they bow to you. It gives a sign of respect to them and respect for their business and their position within it. In the UK and USA, not so many people swap business cards these days. They look for a QR code on your phone. So technology is slowly overtaking that. Please don't forget to fill in that poll that I sent through to everybody. Online sales are becoming more and more and more attractive in the UK and overseas. So one of the things to think about when people ask you, have you ever sold overseas before, is how many people do you get from overseas coming to your shop or your business in the UK looking to buy your product? You don't realise, but you're exporting it. They've come to you and they're taking the product away. And that's quite a lot of companies don't realise that. So instead of waiting for those companies to come over, or those companies to come overseas and buy your product from you, and you're reacting to their arrival in your offices, why don't you put together a plan to proactively go to their country and start looking to sell? You need to do some desk research, then travel overseas to their country and do some market research, plan a market visit, visit what time of year should you go. The seasons change very differently to in the UK. Look out for any religious holidays that they have. Try to visit as part of a trade mission from the UK, or one that perhaps a Chamber of Commerce could put together, or be part of an international exhibition where there is a British pavilion there, which will put you in a position with lots of other UK exporters. I encourage you to think of the 4 Ps of marketing. Try to understand your price, product, place, and promotion. So let's try and go through them one at a time. In terms of price, what type of price will you sell to your customer overseas? This is a very busy slide, but it talks all about Incoterms, international commercial terms of payment. If you are selling on an ex works basis, that means the customer comes along and collects the goods from your factory. If you're delivering them free to a carrier, for example, an aircraft or a ship, you will deliver them to that carrier. And that carrier could be a freight company appointed by your customer overseas. So whether that's Maersk Shipping or air freight company at Heathrow, you deliver it to their premises. If you're shipping, you could deliver it free alongside a ship, FAS, or free on board, which means you pay the cost to put it on board the ship. At this point, it's on board the ship and you will get a bill of lading, or in terms of an air freight, you will get an airway bill from an air freight or a sea shipping company to show that the goods are now in the hands of the shipping company and are being shipped overseas. Sometimes you'll have to pay the cost of the freight. So you send it overseas, or the freight and insurance to get goods overseas. Finally, when the goods arrive at the other end, you could pay the carriage or the freight price would be paid to a point overseas, be it Paris or be it somewhere in the US, Los Angeles. You could pay carriage insurance is paid to a point of delivery, or the next level then gets into paying, including costs of tax, whether you'd be delivered to a place. That would include tax in a certain country, or delivered at place unloaded, or delivered duty paid in that country. So duty and tax could be included as well. These are all big issues that you need to consider. We can help you with that. In parallel, we can help you with payment terms. Payment terms tend to go hand in hand with the Incoterms that you're using, but not necessarily. So the safest payment terms that you could have would be to get paid in advance. But this would mean that the people that you're selling to would have no guarantees that you would deliver the goods or would have any performance requirements. So you could also ask for perhaps a 50% in advance and 50% after you've shipped. Other ways of getting paid with larger volumes are having a documentary credit or a documentary collection, or a collection duty paid, or a collection overseas. We can go through all of these points with you when you work through what your payment terms are going to be as you negotiate a contract. Finally, on the finance, we have a fantastic entity in the UK called UK Export Finance. They're here to fill in any gaps that's not supported by the private sector. UK Export Finance have been around for over 100 years. They were set up at the end of the First World War to help UK companies export. They provide things like export working capital, which means if you are a company with a £100,000 turnover in the UK and you get yourself an order from a company overseas for £100,000 and your margin on your goods is 25%, you've got to find £75,000 worth of purchasing to buy the raw materials to make your goods so that they're ready to be sold. And UK Export Finance will provide support to you via your bank for a working capital loan at very, very, very low rates. And UKEF will provide a guarantee to your bank of up to 80% of that value. Therefore, your bank has only got a 20% risk on you. So if your requirement is for working capital of 75,000, using my example, then the bank's risk on you is only £15,000 worth of that, or 20%. Now, if you've got a turnover every year of 100,000, you should be able to have a loan from your bank of £15,000, which is the level that you'd need to borrow 100 or £75,000 in total to buy your raw materials. But that has to be linked to the contract it has from overseas, and you have to show that to your bank. They can give you foreign exchange credit support schemes, and they can raise awareness of how you can need to understand the business overseas to grow. So my advice to you is to initially go in for an overseas market with a higher price and discount down. It's very difficult to go in with a very low price and then push your price up. You can always give volume discounts to people buying from overseas. A marginal pricing issue works quite well. If you're selling in the UK £100,000 a year, and you've got all of your all of your UK and company costs covered in that, then you can sell overseas for a much lower price. Let's face it, the overseas people you sell to, your distributor, your agent, are going to have overheads that they're going to have to cover themselves to distribute the product around. And finally, you could perhaps have a look and see what type of pricing your competitors are using in that marketplace, and then see if you can match them and grow your business based on that pricing policy. In terms of product, you need to have a very close look at who's going to share your brand name, or what does your brand name translate into overseas, and who's going to use that brand name that you'll share your product with, or you'll use as your distributor. Secondly, you need to make sure that the specification you have is conformative with what the market size, what the market is. And what type of size do you have? Do you sell in litres and they buy in gallons? Do you sell in inches and they want to buy centimetres? What does the local market use? And you work out what your commodity code is, because that will define what the import duty rate is. And your customs clearing agent, your freight forwarder, will help you decide what your commodity code is going to be. And a big heads up at this point, I discovered that if your product can be used in multiple industries overseas, and if your product is or can be used in a environmentally clean industry, for example, recycling, then you'll find that the import duty is dramatically lower than where it would be used in a more industrial use. So try to work out cleverly what your commodity codes can be. Next P is for place. How will you sell your product overseas? Will you sell it directly? Will you sell via an agent? Would you sell via a distributor? Would you use a UK export house, of which there are many at the British Export Association? Or would you look to set up a local office? At this point, Lisa, perhaps you could run the poll again. This is the key question, all about, if you've not sold overseas, how can you find customers overseas or agents to sell via? So if you need more help to learn about international trade, I'm going through this really quickly. Please let me know, and I'll be able to be online anytime at the Chamber of Commerce. But I do need to know some information from you about the information you need to have for exporting. Are you looking for an agent? We can find you an agent. Are you looking for a distributor? We can help. We visited the Arab British Chamber of Commerce conference yesterday. There were agents and distributors from all across the whole of the Middle East, all there looking for UK goods that they could sell. They are asking us as a Chamber of Commerce to put events together for them so that they can enter into contractual relationships with you as a UK service exporter or a UK product exporter. Just let us know. How do you want to promote your business overseas? Do you want to promote online? Do you want to promote through word of mouth? Word of mouth. Do you want to use local exhibitions around the countries overseas to promote what you do by having a stand? Do you want to advertise on billboards at airports, for example? What type of promotional events do you want to have overseas? Talk to us. We can give you some good advice on advertising in those countries. So some of the key things that the Department for Business and Trade do is to support UK business. I am a former UK export professional working for the Department for Business and Trade. And I have lots of friends there. In the UK, they no longer give one-to-one support by coming along and visiting you. And that's what we can do at the Chamber of Commerce. But what they do is they have a UK Export Academy. They don't run these locally, they run these across the whole of the UK. So if you want more support locally, we are here, we can help. But the UK Export Academy runs lots of events. I've run through this seminar quite quickly, and they will have 1 hour seminar on digital marketing, a 1 hour seminar on how to sell your services overseas, a 1 hour seminar alone on exporting to China and the practical strategies to grow your business. I have done business in China and traveled there many times. We can help you in that market find customers and help you distribute your product and understand how you can sell. They have a content and SEO from AI and digital PR overseas. And those are a couple of their events that they've got coming up shortly. This is in total all of their events that they have coming up in December. Exploring and the benefits and barriers of exporting. China, as we talked about. Tips for understanding VAT in Europe. If you're exporting from the UK to Europe directly, your customer in Europe will have to pay VAT on the goods that are imported. Now, they either have to pay VAT when the goods arrive to a courier company like DHL, or you could have a distributor who would import the goods into, for example, France, who would then pay VAT when those goods are imported, and they would then sell those goods domestically within France, and they would charge VAT to recover it. So it's really difficult to understand, but in every European country, they have a different VAT number relative to the VAT office in each country. In some countries, they charge VAT at different rates. Therefore, it's not one blanket charge for the whole of the country. Therefore, it's very difficult to have one VAT distributor in France for the whole of the EU. You need to have separate ones for each country. Discover how UK free ports help your business and how you can use those to grow and expand internationally. So in the UK, there are free ports. Most of the big ports are in the country, from Southampton to Felixstowe, from Manchester to Liverpool, and around those free ports, goods can be brought into the UK, but not imported directly into the UK and be in free circulation. The goods would come in and be held duty-free in a free port. You could then package them with other UK goods, for example, and then re-export them out of the free port. You wouldn't have paid any import duty or VAT because they haven't cleared customs and come fully into the UK. We are currently working with Heathrow Airport to try to grow a free port or a free trade zone around the airport for goods that come in and are re-exported out. Next one is how to successfully navigate export procedures in the fast-moving consumer goods, FMCGs. These are all 1-hour seminars or webinars that are being put together. This is a very short touch upon lots of different subjects seminar that I can put together today. How to conduct your international market research overseas, unlocking potential customers in China to Saudi Arabia in the sports industry. Again, we can do all of this for you at the Chamber of Commerce and help this grow. I'm going to have a quick look in the chat box to see if anything else is coming up. Lisa, would you like to run the third poll that we have today? So the question we're asking in this one is, has this event provided you with the information you need to access a new market? Please let me know, and please let me know if there's any questions that you have at the end of this. We've been going for an hour so far, and I'd love to see a few more questions pop up on the screen. This is the last poll that we're going to put out, so we're not going to ask too many questions. Well, what we'd like to see as a Chamber of Commerce is what type of support you need. Okay, so we have a question that's come in. Is there any government support for exporting? The truth is that the government can give you advice, but there's not very much support in terms of helping you find people for cash. They don't give you money to travel overseas and meet people, but what they do is they have a fantastic network of embassies overseas, and 50% of an embassy's budget has to be spent these days on helping small businesses arrive in their country and grow. So if you want help from a British embassy overseas, go and see some of the Department of Business and Trade's commercial teams who are based in that country. Ask them, who are the competitors? Who are the customers? Can I be invited to an embassy event in your country where people will come along with an interest to buy British goods? Is there anybody the embassy can introduce you to buy goods overseas? So we have another question in from Faridi, who we're a producer of saffron in India. Can we bring it into the UK? What type of packaging? And export it to European countries? So first of all, yes, you can. So saffron needs to conform with health and safety guidelines in the UK, and you need to contact UKCA for those guidelines. They will give you information. There isn't anything about the size of packaging you need. There are lots of people that sell saffron in different restaurants. I would suggest that you visit a lot of, is your target market to sell to restaurants, or are you trying to sell to end users? Are you trying to sell online, or are you trying to sell via Tesco's and Safeways in the UK to find customers? Choose your distribution route. Try to get in front of distributors in the UK. A good place would be to visit Western International Market. and see who they use, or try to find companies who are importing and distributing products. We can advertise your product to different UK companies. There's a company that we use who are distributors of wine and spirits to lots of restaurants around West London. They might be able to sell some of your saffron to restaurants, etc. The thing that we're really good at is opening doors and introducing you to key people. I've got another question from Sneha, who says, can you let me know if we're selling in the UK and India? We've collaborated with agencies, distribution. Right, okay. So on a B2B business level, we can introduce you to software companies in the UK who are very interested in new software from overseas that may well help. We regularly do IT and AI seminars that Sally puts together, and the people who we have speaking on those are always very interested in new software products that they can then sell and distribute around in the UK on a B2B level. So please be in touch with us about those and we can try and hook you up. Other questions that we've got coming through. What licenses are required for importing meat and fish processed products? Well, you'd need a health license and you'd need a UKCA certification. So those can be processed and applied for online in the UK. You may well, your packaging needs to reflect that when the goods arrive. They will be inspected by customs in the UK to make sure that you've got the right stamps and certification on your products. So Faridi, can you connect me with Sneha, who asked the software question? Our IT wings work for enterprise software. Look at this, Faridi. Look at this, Sneha. We have a connection for you already. You are being put together via this live webinar as we speak. Lisa, can you take some details of both people and then we can hook them up afterwards? Will imports be covered, Amit asks. So will they be covered in this seminar, do you mean? Yes, goods. We spoke about imports at the very beginning. Of how you need to have a VAT EORI number before you can import anything, or you need to know about inward processing relief, you need to know what tariff number, you need to know what type of certification you need to sell in the UK from UKCA. Last one is, I believe, health certificates are required from country of origin. Yes, that's right. A health certificate is required within the UKCA regulation to show what you can do and what type of packaging you use overseas. And they need to be inspected by your local health departments that work hand in hand with UKCA and CE certification in the UK. Can you provide the contact details to seek assistance with regards to software? Yes, Neha will provide contact details for those people. As a final shout out, has everybody completed the polls that we sent out? Lisa, are you able to show the results from any of these polls? Would that be possible? We're just looking to see how many people have actually answered the polls. We'd like to try and get as many of the 20 participants in this format to make sure that you've answered all of the questions. I believe a health certificates are required in the country of origin, but it's proving difficult to obtain from local bodies. Grateful for any contacts in Mumbai. My advice to you is please be in touch with UK authorities at the British High Commission in Mumbai, who would be able to help with that. But this is really an Indian regulatory body in India who would have to issue those certificates. And maybe that there's an Indian authority similar to the Department for Business and Trade that wants to promote Indian exports to the UK, and they can urge faster and quicker health certification on the products that need to be exported from India to the UK. Are there any other questions that you can put in? Is there any tax relief for exports? Yes, there is tax relief for exports. Any goods that are exported, you do not charge VAT on, and you, if you import any of the raw materials or key components, you don't have to pay import duty on those under inward processing relief, which I spoke about earlier, Camille. Your freight company will be able to import goods using that, so long as you re-export them within 6 months of importing them. I'm looking through any other questions. Right. I'm coming to an end of any questions anybody would like to ask, which is quite good. Has anybody else got any questions they'd like to ask? Lisa, is it possible to run the results from the polls to see how many of the people today have exported before and how many are looking for a new market? Presuming that if that's a no, then there's we're not able to do that. That's some information we'll have to process and gather for this. Okay, so let's see if there's any other points in the Q&A. I congratulate Sneha, you are the only person on this webinar this morning who's put any questions in the Q&A box, and I think I've gone through answering all of those, and you've answered with an email address for us. Thank you. Okay, if there's no other questions, I've gone through my webinar extensively. I'm going to leave it at this point. We've talked now for an hour and 5 minutes about the various parts of exporting and importing. All I can say is we work at a grassroots level, and we're here to help SMEs grow. So please give me a shout if you need anything. You have our contact details on our website. We organise regular international trade events. This year we've done international trade events with 19 subjects and destinations, and the countries that we've focused on have covered work in Morocco, Libya, Kurdistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Iran, India, Bangladesh, Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam, and New Zealand. And on the note of India, we've done 3 events on trade with India. So please do come along. We brought over at the Indian trade events multiple people from India who are looking to trade in the UK. You might be able to meet a new customer at that event there. The last thing I would like to say to you all is that it's a big world outside the UK. Laws are very different than they are in the UK. If you need help legally, please do come along and talk to your Chamber of Commerce. We can implement Chamber of Commerce to Chamber of Commerce overseas support for you, and we can implement mediation and arbitration services. Right, Incoterms slide I'm being asked about. Let me see if I can find that for you. Hold on a moment. There you are. If you've got any questions on those Incoterms, let me know. Perhaps you could take a screenshot of that slide while it's on the page. What I should note to you is that Incoterms got updated and improved earlier this year. Only a few of them changed, but this slide here is showing you the new Incoterms that were applicable from 2020, which basically haven't changed at all. And all that people are trying to do is to work out, if you are in the UK in a factory or in an office and somebody overseas in a domestic dwelling wants to buy your product, where are you going to deliver it to them, and what price does the cost include? Do they have to pay all of the delivery and tax fees to bring it from you to them, or do you pay it, or there are lots of stop points in the middle? And that's exactly what this slide is showing. If you have any other questions, and if you can't read the blurred bits in the bottom right hand corner, that's because this is a screenshot that I took off the internet yesterday. You can go on to exactly the same page at Inco Docs, and you'll be able to bring up the same slide. But if you have any questions on this and you need more advice, let me know and we can give that to you. And we're here to, frankly, help. Right. Is there anything else that's popping up on a stage? There are questions in the chat, says Sally Smith. Right, I'm in the chat as well, and I think I've gone through all of those questions. Am I missing something, Sally Smith? Morning, everybody. Here's to a fantastic event. Any certificates? Okay, you parked the certificate question, Sally. Kathy Oliver, can you touch on international trade agreements with the US states are doing with the UK? Okay, so Canada now has a free trade agreement with the UK. The United States and the UK are in the process of negotiating one, but that's going to take longer. It was being hoped that that would be one of the first ones. I don't think that will happen for quite a while. However, if you'd like a good shortcut for trading with the United States largely has a free trade agreement with Canada, and so do we. So that's a nice route into the American market. With IPR, do you need an account with HMRC? Yes, you do. Or can this be done on individual shipments? It can, but talk to your freight forwarder, your clearing agent, and they'll sort that out for you. What kind of licenses needs to be required to export food products into the UK? That's what we've talked about, UKCA. Will someone in the UK take me to a host who can attendance, or can you guys do it with this reporting? Okay, so we can work that out. Is there any government support for export? Been through that. We're the provider of saffron, been through that. Licensing for fish, same thing. Been through that tax relief for export, answered that. Doing great stuff, Alan. Thanks very much for the compliment. Need to access your shared slides. Okay, and great session. How do we get access to the slides? We can put those up on. So this can be seen as a recorded webinar on our YouTube channel. Right. Sally Smith is saying at 11:04 there are questions in the chat. I've just been through everything in the chat. I think I've answered anything, unless anyone is seeing things that I can't see. Right, okay, so thank you all very, very much for attending this event this morning. If there's anything else that I've missed, please put something in the chat box now. Otherwise, I'm going to draw this to a close, and you will see this webinar on our Hounslow Chamber, West London Chambers YouTube channel coming to you shortly. I hope you've managed to fill in the polls that we put up. We look forward to getting the results from those, and very much look forward to seeing you more at our international trade events. And thank you very, very much for attending today. Have a great day. Thank you all. Bye-bye.